Baltimore author Stephanie Solomon has released her third book, Aging with Grace. Messages from Aging with Grace targets girls and women of all ages. Learn Christ's perspective on sex, parenting, and more. Aging with Grace is available on Nook, Kindle, and anywhere books are sold.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Winning Ways with me, Stephanie Solomon. I tell you, it's late. Yes, it is. It's late over here in my neck of the woods, Eastern Standard Time. Things were happening, and guys, I just was not able to broadcast at 7 p.m. As usual, but I was determined I was going to do it today and not put it off for another day during the week. So you're going to see it whether it's live or posted later. But here we are. I'm not going to belabor it. I know it's late in different parts, and some people were waiting up for the show. But hey, it's going to be posted later, so you'll be able to check it out. Well, if you're new to listening to my podcast, let me know that you're new and send me a message and let me know how you enjoyed the show, the content. I've been doing this since 2010, but not on YouTube. It's been all audio, and I am new to YouTube, and I am really liking this. I'm really liking it. All right. So just let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Excuse me. I am an author, and I simply talk from my experiences that are written out in my books. And if you want to know what I've written, log on to www.stephaniebooks.com, and you'll see my writings there. You can order them there if you like. You can order them Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and other book distributors if you like. It's up to you where you would choose to order from. So yeah, I just teach from my books. There's always something more to talk about. All right. And so I'm not going to be on long tonight. Just going to pull from one of my chapters from my first book. And I had some people joining who known me for years and followed me for years and purchased books. And when I showed this as my first book, they were like, never saw that before. It's just a different color, different edition, different cover. Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to come from the chapter Life from the Life. Well, I am tongue-tied. It's late, y'all. It's late, but I can do this, right? I know I can. I can do this. I'm coming from the chapter Life for the Living Dead. I'm just going to read just a few sentences, not a lot, to pull from my topic tonight, which is on self-hatred, self-loathing. In spite of her efforts to make Amnon understand that no means no, her impassioned protests were rejected. Once declassed and degraded, Tamar ceased to dream. Something died within her, which produced her abyss of hopelessness. Amnon had little to no regard for her life, how she would be adversely labeled by society, undesired as a wife, and denied parental bliss. Her dreams did not evolve into her reality. As a result of this unfortunate experience, a melancholy spirit entered into the life of Tamar. So unhappy was she that the Holy Spirit records this. So Tamar dwelt in her brother Absalom's house, a desolate woman. And that's in 2 Samuel chapter 13, verse 20. She was empty, ineffective, but above all, without joy. Then I'm going to skip down here where it says, the sexual experience with Amnon was so burdensome to Tamar that she believed life would be extremely difficult for a king's daughter. And here's another part of the scripture. It says, and she replied to her brother, and I, how could I rid myself of the shame? And I wanted to jump over to this others. She perceived herself as worthless and impure. Whew, so I'm stop right there. That story of Tamar is a lot of people's story, not just from being molested or raped, but having been traumatized and having the results of the trauma create a sense of just emptiness. And as the Bible says, desolation in her spirit. I want to talk about, though, because when people tend to be desolate and empty, there's a sense of lack of self love and sometimes self care and all of those things. And I want to talk about 5 things. There are more, of course, than 5. But I want to talk about 5 things that can help all of us move beyond self hatred. Because at some point, unless you are really, high extreme narcissist on the spectrum, and I try not to use that word freely because it is a clinical term. Um, all of us at some point dislike something about ourselves, whether it's our features, our behavior, or something, our lack of something, or just something, where we're placed, or what, just something. And if we're not careful, we can find ourselves in an abyss. And I mentioned that in that particular chapter about the abyss. And if we don't have a great support system and other positive influences in our life, it could take us to a very dark and dismal place. So really, I want to share, because all of us have these moments and we need to be aware of certain things to get us out of that rabbit hole of sorts. And so I want to talk about 5 ways to get out of self-loathing or self-hatred. All right. And there's no special order to this because, our lives are very different, and we need sometimes the same thing at different stages of our lives. So it's no special order, no special order. All right. Hello. How are you? Thanks for staying up late with me. All right. The first one is self-advocacy. It's a way of protecting ourselves. At some point, we have to learn how to be our best advocate. Now, and I'm talking about not just at being an adult, but at some point when we know right from wrong. I talked about bullying on the last show, and oftentimes people who are bullying are not advocates for themselves, because for various reasons. Rather, I don't want to get into that tonight, but they have to have someone else advocate for them because it's just they haven't built up the courage, the mental strength, the emotional security to do it, to advocate for themselves. But self-advocacy helps heal us. It's I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it comes along with being self-aware of your environment, aware of self. Self-advocacy is a way of protecting and promoting ourselves. Now, self-promotion, I'm not saying, being arrogant and conceited and, boastful, I'm not talking about it in a negative way, but self-promoting in a positive way is putting yourself first. And at some point, and sometimes that's okay to do, and I'm aware that on the show, I have people of different ages listening. So I'm even talking to children and youth. You can put yourself first when you're protecting yourself, and It is okay to protect yourself. It is okay to preserve uh, aspects of us, our physical makeup, our intellect. It is okay to do that. Sometimes we hear putting ourselves first is a bad thing, and it can be when we're self centered all of the time. But self promotion, which is can be a form of self advocacy, looking out for you, your betterment, your protection of your mental well being, protection of your emotional status, protection of your physical well being. It's a good thing. It really is okay. And oftentimes we have to be taught how to promote ourselves in a way that's not aggressive, not hostile, and not harmful to other people or even ourselves. And we have to be taught how advocating for us is okay. Now, how to do it is important. But just remember, that how to can come after realizing, hey, that's something I need to do. And I need to understand that it is okay for me to be okay. And I can do things for my life to be safe. I can do things for my security. I can do things for my mental peace. I can do those things, and I can speak up for myself. I can put some things in place, because it's not always talking that shows advocacy of oneself. Is what we do. It's just like I've talked about before. Sometimes it's what we don't say that teaches people how to treat us. It's what we do. It's how we respond, or how the affect that we give to people, that we send messages to people of how to treat us. So self-advocacy is a big deal. All right, the other thing is self-love. And if you've been following me for a minute, you know that I've done a series on that when I was doing the audio part of the podcast. So self love is a big deal. And there are a myriad of ways that we can show self love. You know, I want to talk about self love in the form of forgiveness of oneself. And I've done a series and I incorporate forgiveness in almost every podcast that I do, because it's such a big deal. And I am a forgiveness coach. It is a lifestyle. It is not the easiest thing to do because of the types of offenses that we incur and that we impose on others. So it's ongoing, but it's a necessity if we want to live with peace of mind and peace in our heart. Forgiveness of ourselves, because we forgive others, but we should forgive ourselves too, because we do things to mess ourselves up. And when we love ourselves, we do show some kindness towards ourselves. We learn to handle ourselves carefully, and that's a learned behavior, how to handle ourselves. We often put emphasis on learning how to handle other people and to manage other people. But we need to learn how to manage us, because hopefully as we grow, we are evolving. And we have to learn to be kind to ourselves. Sometimes we're very harsh to ourselves. And that's where that self-hatred can creep in and become established and live pretty comfortably in our uh, within ourselves, because we say things and we do things that are just detrimental to our health, that show that we don't like ourselves very much. So forgiving ourselves shows that we love ourselves. We're giving ourselves grace. We're being merciful even with us. We make mistakes. We're human. But we learn to get over and get through some things with time and with gentleness and with care. We have to handle ourselves with care. And we can only handle ourselves with care and know what areas of our lives we have to be careful with and gentle with, even with us, when we become self aware. And I've talked a lot about self-awareness. And, it's just something that I'm going to continue to throw out there because being self-aware will keep us from making crazy mistakes, and finding ourselves in binds that are really hard to get out of and living with consequences of our actions for such a long time. So being self-aware is the third, or I said, yep, did self-love. So being self-aware, which is really being mindful of our environment, mindful of what we can handle, knowing what our bandwidth is, our capability. Many of us, most of us, we know so much about our cars, our homes. We know how much uh, gasoline our our car can hold, the capacity of it. We know the capacity of this, that, and the other, but we don't think about what our capacity is. How much of this can I take? I like to hear some grandparents say things like, I love when the grandkids come over, but I love that I can give them back to my kids, because they know that as much as they love them, their tolerance level for maybe noise and whatever is not what it used to be. They are aware of their capacity. It doesn't take anything away. It doesn't take any love away for the grandchildren. But, it's just, we know when enough is enough. We know when we get tired, knowing the capacity, Some people don't know how many drinks to have. I mean, just being self-aware, being mindful. I want to say, because there's a lot to cover on all of these, and I surely cannot do it in one session or so. But being self-aware is being mindful of so many things, even things as small as acute, rather, as what we share to other people, being excited and sharing this, that, or the other. And we can share our dreams, our aspirations to people. We can share our heart and our words and what have you. And we need to understand why we do this, why we choose to share some of the most intimate things about us with certain people. Being self-aware because it can be dangerous. People deserve or should have proven a level of trust, to hear a lot of things that are on our heart and on our mind. People have to prove also that they are safe. They create a safe space for us to share. And oftentimes we assume a lot about people, and we share a lot, and we need to ask ourselves, and we share to the wrong individuals. And it's okay to have people in our lives where we share various things with. I think that's very helpful and cleansing, and it's just very healthy. But we need to be careful and cautious and discerning of who we are giving our hearts to, our words to, sharing our dreams, goals, and aspirations with, those type of things out. Even our wins, who are we sharing? What energy are they giving us? Are they authentically happy for us? Are they Debbie Downers? Who are they? Henry haters? They really have our best interests. We need to be really self-aware of what we share of ourselves. That's all a part of also being careful with ourselves. So we need to be aware of what we give and what we share with other people. The other thing I want to cover quickly is self-development. I really love this. When we find ourselves and realize that we are negative about us, that we say things, we call ourselves derogatory names, we say that we're stupid, we just never get anything right, things just never go my way, I'm always screwing up and move away. When we find ourselves not encouraging ourselves, but downing ourselves, and no one else has to do it because we're doing it, we're in a bad place. I think self-discovery and self-development, self-awareness. All of those things will help us get out of that pit of negativity. See, what self-development does, it causes us to explore ourselves. And I've learned that people who are willing to grow, willing to learn who they really are meant to be and discover their best version of themselves, they are people who have no problem learning to explore, no matter what age they are, to explore themselves. These people are also willing and accepting of putting in the needed work. Self-development means you're putting in the needed work. Sometimes I've noticed, even with myself, when I start knocking myself and feeling down and playing the victim and criticizing myself, I get a little lazy too. And I start thinking, and I've seen this in other people, thinking that because I'm in a funk, that allows me or gives me permission to not better myself, to put in the extra work, whatever that is, to become a better version of myself, which brings me out of that slump. So sometimes, we have to really be careful when we're in a funk like that, because it gets really heavy in that place, and we can get comfortable there. We say we don't like it, but we get comfortable there. We have to put in whatever the work is that we have to do to get to a place where we don't talk to ourselves in such harsh way, where we're gentle with ourselves. I'm not saying lie to ourselves and be deceitful with even us, to our own self be true. But I'm saying be gentle even in truth with oneself. Have that grace, that self-love, as we discover our weaknesses, because we all have them. We're frail. No excuses for our mistakes and our sins, but that's how we're wired. But we can do better, and we can be better. And self-development is saying I'm aware of my capacity, I'm aware of my frailties, I'm aware of my propensities, I'm aware of a lot of things, and I'm going to put in the work to avoid some things, to overcome things, no matter how long it takes. I was really blessed. As most of you know, I am a life coach. I've been a certified life coach for a year, but I've coached people not under the title of a life coach for years. But I got a young lady who really, really blessed me, who sought out my services. And on the questionnaire, it asks, how long? Because you do have to have an idea when you're pursuing self-help of some things, like how long do I want to do this? When do I think I'll be through? Or it may not happen, but have an idea. And the question was she was asked, how long, would you desire to have these services? And she put down as long as it takes. It's those type of responses I like hearing, because I like working with people who are willing to put in the work, who are not looking for, will you work with me? Will you give me a break? I'm just trying, I ain't got time for all of that. You either want to invest in yourself and go the length and put in the work and not look for shortcuts. I was really blessed when I saw that. As long as it takes, because she is determined to get her healing, see what she is supposed to look like on the other side of whatever it is that she's dealing with. She wants to see that, and she's willing to put in the work and make it happen. And I'm telling you, that is just something that all of us ought to be able to do. I have one more tip that I want to share with you. So stay with me. I'll be right back.
Get Aging with Grace by Christian author, speaker, and podcast host Stephanie Solomon today on all digital and brick-and-mortar retail stores. For signed copies, purchase your books at www.stephaniebooks.com. That's www.stephaniebooks.com. Connect with this creative author on Instagram, Twitter, Google, and Facebook using her handle at Stephanie Books. That's at STEPHANNIE Books. Here's Stephanie Solomon on The Winning Ways Show, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a weekly podcast on blogtalkradio.com. Aging with Grace and other publications by Stephanie Solomon are available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, and other booksellers. For further information and speaking inquiries, log on to www.stephaniebooks.com. That's www.stephaniebooks.com.
Hey, welcome back. You're listening to Winning Ways. You're watching Winning Ways right here on YouTube. And I'm your host, Stephanie Solomon. Welcome back. Well, before the break, I dealt with 4 out of 5 ways in which a person who is in a mood of self-hatred can work himself or herself out of that way of thinking and behaving by incorporating these things in their life. And I talked about self-advocacy, I talked about self-discovery, I talked about self-love and self-awareness. I want to jump on self-care. It's something I talked about in the past, but just another aspect of it. And a part earlier was how we handle ourselves. That's self-care, self-awareness, but it's also self-care. How, be gentle with yourself, be careful with yourself. If you know you can't handle certain things in certain places because you're just not there yet, don't try to prove something to someone else and you're not ready. And you end up regretting that you put yourself in an environment where you just weren't ready. You couldn't handle it. But recognize things about oneself. Again, this is part of self-awareness, but it's self-care, because when you recognize that something isn't right, you do something about it. And one of the things that I think, let me just say this. Next month is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's a big deal to me. And I have several guests lined up for the month of May. I'm excited about what these individuals who are professional mental health workers have to say on various topics. Mental health awareness is self-care. And there's a spectrum of mental health behaviors. And we need to get out of this thing of thinking mental health means I've lost my mind, I don't have my faculties. No, just something, being depressed, anxious, there's just a spectrum that all of us go through at some point, some longer than others. Why do I say all of that? Because mental health affects our physical health when it's not taken care of. When we are unaware of things that are going on with us, or we are aware and we ignore, we deny what's really happening to us emotionally and mentally. We need to recognize things about ourselves, where we are, especially psychologically, why we do what we do, why this is happening, where did this originate from? What's the root cause of this? Why do I do this? Mental health awareness. Well, something as simple as knowing, why do I always resort to this behavior when I'm in this environment or around these type of people, or to have this circumstance arise? Are we operating in what I call adaptive responses, which is like a survival mode? Are we doing something just to survive. And we're not even aware that we're doing something to survive. We're just trying to lessen the anxiety. We're trying to usher in peace, by whatever it is that we've chosen to do to survive that moment where we are. That can be a problem. That can be a problem. Self-care says, I am aware. I may not know how to undo this, but I have to. It's in my best interest for me to undo this. Working in survival mode has cost, and the cost can be, the stress and anxiety that is put on our bodies, our emotional self. It's not good. The other thing, are we operating in autopilot? Self-care says that's not a way to operate. Autopilot basically is acting out or acting without thinking. You just been so busy reverting back to this one behavior, this one way of thinking or doing things because you've done it so many times before. You don't even think about it, it just happens. You don't even think about it. You don't even know when you started doing it. You ever do something and you've done it for so long I heard the example of and I know it happened to me. You're driving in your car and you just realize, wait a minute, I am 3 blocks away or a mile away. I don't remember passing. I go this route all the time, and I don't remember passing the red light and stop sign in the building. And now here I am. Subconsciously, you've done this for so long, it's like autopilot. But that example, when I heard that example, I'm like, that has actually happened to me. I've been on the expressway and landmarks that I'm familiar with. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember passing the hospital. I don't remember passing that, but I already passed it. I was in a zone thinking about something else. And I said, Lord, I know that was your grace that kept me, especially when I went on the street and traffic lights were there. I don't remember passing the traffic light. I don't remember if it was red, yellow, or green. In a zone, autopilot, truly being kept by God in those moments. But let's be honest, we can act like that and be like that in autopilot in other aspects of our lives, not just driving, and we're functioning. It appears we're functioning well on our jobs, in our homes. We've cooked, we do whatever we have to do, but we are really not present. And that's not caring for ourselves. Caring for ourselves is being present in the moment, not being in survival mode, not in autopilot mode. It's being present in the moment, enjoying the moment. Life is fleeting for us as humans. We never know from day to day if this is the day that will be our last day. And oftentimes we allow the worries of life to consume what we do, that we don't enjoy the moments with others who are valuable, who value us, and we value them, who eyes light up when they see us, and our eyes light up when we see them. There's a warmth with them. There's a welcoming spirit. But it's a sad day when we're so into something else that we can't appreciate those things because we're not in the moment. We're in that autopilot mode. We're in survival mode. So I challenge you today to take care of yourself. Be present in the moment. That's self-care, being present in the moment. And not allowing the issues of life to have their way. All right, that's it. Those are just 5 little tips. And trust me, there are more. but I just felt led to share 5. And like I said, that wasn't this. Excuse me. This podcast episode was inspired by Life for the Living Dead, which was in book 1, Conversations with the King. All right. Well, I'm excited, as I said, about next month. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. Be ready, mark it on your calendars, share with your friends, because we're going to be talking about real, real matters that affect all of us. All right. Well, take care. This is it. Not going any longer. I feel myself, I'm being self-aware. I feel myself winding down. All right. Okay. Well, this has been great. This has been great, 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 great. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Tell your friends about what's happening over here. I'm trying to build this community over here. And for a very much needed conversations. All right. Well, take care, everybody. Lord willing, I'll be back hopefully on time at 7:00 p.m. next week. All right. Take care, everyone, and have a great week.